Okay, curveball, I'm back. This will be part 14. In this part, I'd like to give you a three-dimensional CAD drawing to scale, not, 1/4 scale, 1:1. So if it's 146 million kilometers away, that's where I drew it at. So the average on the sun, I've got it at 93 million miles, but for an accurate measurement, just so we can depict most accurately what's going on there, we can use 91 millions and 94. Earth's closest approach to the sun, called aphelion, comes in early January and is 91 million miles away from Earth. The furthest from the sun Earth gets is called aphelion. It comes in early July and is at about 94.5 million miles away. So believe that if you want to, curveball. We're actually colder when we're closest to the sun because the tilt of the Earth. Well, believe that if you want. It will show you whichever distance you use, you cannot block the moon. The moon will not block the sun at either distance that they portray this at. Look at this. This ball that you think you're on is really Baal. They're worshiping. The title, horrific meaning Lord, in the Northwest Semitic languages spoken in the Levant during antiquity. From the use among people, it came to be applied to God. Scholars previously associated with the solar cults and variety of unrelated patron deities. Who was Baal? In various battles, Baal defeated Yam, the god of the sea, and Mot, the god of death and the underworld. Baal's sisters, fertility goddess associated with the stars, and Anlith, the goddess of love and war. The Canaanites worshipped Baal as the sun god and was the storm god. We remember the Canaanites is what they use to depict the Saros cycle, which shows you when and where the path of the solar eclipse will occur next. There's the distance from the sun in feet, 498.8 billion feet. I just went ahead and made it simpler to draw, converting all the measurements to feet. Now, look here. The easy answer is the moon's orbit around the Earth is tilted by 5 degrees to the plane of the Earth's orbit around the sun. So it's not 5 degrees off from the Earth, it's 5 degrees off of the Earth's orbit from the sun. As a result, from our viewpoint on Earth, the moon normally passes either above or below the sun each month at new moon. Exactly what we see. Okay, what else I got to say? The plane of the ecliptic. Plane of the ecliptic plane is defined as the imaginary plane containing the Earth's orbit around the sun. In the course of a year, the sun's apparent path through the sky lies in this plane. See that? A little truth in plain sight. The sun's apparent path through the sky lies in this plane. Plane of the solar system. The ecliptic is the circular path on the celestial sphere that the sun appears to follow over the course of a year. It is the basis of the ecliptic coordinate system. That is what I have drawn these on. You can say from the center mass of the sun going outward, all the planets are lined up, except for the moon. It's 5 degrees above that. The term also refers to the plane of this path, which is coplanar with Earth's orbit around the sun, and hence the sun's apparent orbit around the Earth. Okay? If the sun's path is observed from the Earth's reference frame, that would mean not heliocentric view, but the Earth at the center, it appears to move around the Earth, the sun does, in a path which is tilted with respect to the spin axis at 23.5 degrees. This path is called the ecliptic. It tells us that the Earth's spin axis is tilted with respect to the plane of the Earth's solar orbit, 23.5 degrees. Okay. The June 3rd, 1769 Venus transit. And that is how they arrived at 95 million miles, or close enough to this 93 million, which is the accepted value today. My point is, curveball, they're trying to prove that the sun is not moving and it's the Earth that's moving. And they're doing this with their funky math. And they have to agree on certain assumptions going in. First, that the Earth is round. You just saw Cassini assuming that it moved, and that's why one of these systems was right. And if they all want to believe that it's the Earth moving, then they're going to see that. I mean, we're talking about a shadow, 1.5% EC's difference in a shadow. Okay, well, let me tell you what I can see with modern day computers and a software called AutoCAD, which you can ask any engineer. It's very, very accurate stuff. It can help you answer all kinds of trigonometry questions or geometric equations. It'll answer them for you. So we can't be confused by so-called mathematicians, because I can draw all this out. And when you use their own calculations, going back to that nice little diagram of the sun, how he saw the difference in size, when you line up the eclipse, whether it was 95 million miles or 93 million miles, I did them at both sizes, the moon does not cover the sun. There's ample part of the sun. They didn't have the math to where they did it accurate enough, and you can expose it. Another way you can know I'm right is they don't even put the AutoCAD drawing of the solar system out for everybody to use. If it's so accurate and it's a true representation of what's going on, they should put it out for everybody. You can't find it. I had to waste several hours drawing it up myself. I'm going to try to give you a visual representation of what the powers that be have been doing. Like Vladimir Lenin said, repeat a lie big enough and often enough, and eventually the people will come to believe it. My local news, and everyone's local news. I'm sure Luth and Dosh would know this because those people watched it on the daily. I watched the local news just a couple times a week. 3 days ago, I made a video off of the TV that I could upload because I came over here to my news station and thought, wow, why should I record it off the TV? I'm sure I can just find the video where they showed the Falcon X spacecraft launch. It was just 3 days ago. They were sending some stuff up to the ISS apparently in the Orion capsule. And of course, this Falcon 9 landed itself right back down on the launch pad. So I'm looking for that. And the only thing they show me is a news story from 2 months ago. Like, my news media don't put fake space news on every day or every 3 days or a couple times a month. Look how they skew the search results. So when you look for it, oh, it's just one story and the rest of the stuff is not even related. But they don't show me the story from 2 days ago. That's how they skew it. So someone comes along and tries to point out to you, hey man, all these fake news stories on the space stuff, it's all every month, our local news media. And whatever this story is, it went nationwide. You've seen those montages of everyone's local news reporter saying the same script, reading the same damn news story. So I'll play this for you so you can read it and learn.
Would you like to go anywhere in the world? To Endeavor 7's Adam Hammond shows us who's trying to make this.
SpaceX wants to use rockets to fly you between any major city in the world in about 30 minutes. SpaceX CEO Elon Musk is announcing big plans for the company's new mega rocket. Here's some video of how it would work. The plan is to launch a massive spaceship into orbit around the Earth and then land it on these floating pads near major cities. Musk told the internet...
I like how they mention they showing you a video, and it's all CGI cartoon. I mean, we take cartoons and we tell us it's video nowadays. See how fake this world is become? They'll never land to cities in 20 minutes. You're not going to have a flight from New York to London in 20 minutes on a rocket ship that lands ass backwards. They show you shit that is impossible. Look at a bullet flight. Does it ever go out without the point first to cut through the air resistance? This is similar to the NASA landings when they re-entry with their vehicle, the flat part going through the air first. It wouldn't spin out of control and the point go first, really? Somehow they're going to have the bottom flat surface cutting through the air with the astronauts re-entering into the water. Give me a fucking break. It's not how aerodynamics works, and you know this. All you have to do is critically think about this bullshit story they're telling you. He's going to launch commercial flights, my ass. It's not real. It's bullshit. It's fake. It'll never happen. When you know that this will never happen, then when this guy is dead and this shit has never happened, what are you going to tell me? Oh, they couldn't get funding for it. But yet they work flawlessly. He'll tell you he's ran 16 of these successfully already without a crash.
National Astronautical Congress, this is just an idea for now, but he hopes to move beyond experimentation and start construction within the next year.
We now have 16 successful landings in a row, and that's with
a lot to cheer there. These rockets would travel at 18,000 miles per hour, the fastest travel by humans ever. Think London to New York in 29 minutes and LA to Toronto in just 23 minutes. That's the same rocket Musk wants to send humans to Mars on within the next 7 years.
I think fundamentally the future is vastly more exciting and interesting if we're a spacefaring civilization and a multi-planet species than if we're not.
The plan is to build a city like this one on Mars and a base on the moon that would
Okay, that's enough of that bullshit. They'll fake that and they'll show you video of that, but you'll never know anybody that does that. But how you'll know that this is all bullshit is because they'll be pretending to do this on Mars and the moon, but you'll never see the commercial application here on Earth because the shit don't work. It's fake, stupid. Wake up. I must add this part off of this TV screen curveball. I went to their YouTube channel on the channel 7, Denver 7 channel on YouTube, but they don't have this video up, and it was from 3 days ago. But this is their typical programming. I will include the search results, which are definitely skewed because this should have been at the top of the list being 3 days ago, but they don't show it. But this is an example of all the programming they give you on your weekly local news reports. It's probably not a week goes by that they don't give you some sort of space news or fake space news. Listen to this shit.
And with that, SpaceX lifts off, taking several Colorado connections with it. After being postponed twice this week, we finally saw liftoff at 8:36 this morning from Cape Canaveral. The unmanned Falcon 9 will deliver a Dragon 6 capsule with 5,000 pounds of supplies to the International Space Station. And that load includes barley seeds from Budweiser, research molecules from Colorado School of Mines, and solar instruments built by a team at CU Boulder.
And Dragon still has a couple days to go before it reaches the International Space Station. But as of right now, it's been a wonderful start to our Friday morning. We had a successful launch, a successful landing, and a successful deployment for Dragon towards the International Space Station.
Okay, what's really cool about this is the first recycled rocket SpaceX has launched for NASA. meaning the same booster has been used before. NASA is trying to lower costs by reusing the most expensive rocket parts. Like we do at home.
So the holidays are...
Just as your local news is scripted and fake, your sports franchises, your modern day gladiators are fake. I'm sure Mr. Aaron Rodgers did not break his collarbone, and you're going to hear these people be amazed at how he came back 7 weeks after breaking his collarbone on his throwing shoulder and having it surgically screwed together with 13 screws and a couple rods. Yeah. Believe it or not. But this here is like WWF for people with an IQ over 75. But if you watch these people coming back from these crazy injuries that are obviously scripted, I mean, how much longer is it going to be before they have one of their superheroes return from an injury of, say, a broken back that was screwed together? Come on, it's not real. It's fake. Wake up before you burn up, curveball.
You were stunned when Aaron Rodgers told us last night he's been throwing for 4 weeks now. Hard to believe. He got a softball after 4 weeks and started doing some long toss, and then he worked into the football, and just the idea that he's playing here 7 weeks after surgery with 2 steel plates and 13 screws is hard to imagine on his throwing shoulder. And Joe, I can't think of anybody who's had surgery on their throwing shoulder that's come back and played that season. So this is kind of new territory.
Yeah, it's new territory, curveball. I wonder how long it'll be before they'll pretend like somebody got their back broke and they fixed them, screwed them back together, and they come back the same year. That won't be too far in the future. Look, the news is a lie and the sports is a lie. It's all fake. It's scripted. This guy broke his collarbone like you broke your leg. Oh, you did break your leg, curveball. Well, wait a minute. Nah, it's fake. Wake up before you burn up. Since that cognitive dissonance appears to be very strong with you, curveballer, I'm postulating this part 14, in which I'll give you a 3-dimensional AutoCAD drawing because I can't find it and download it for free anywhere, even though they supposedly drew it in the 1980s. So I've wasted several hours at work doing it, and I don't have access to that, so I've redid it again, and I'll show it to you. But before then, we'll bring you up slowly with how you've been programmed in mass media to believe the reality of space, even though it's complete fiction. As the Bible states, took pleasure in the lie. I mean, it's predicted, but you have to see it. You have to have ears to hear, eyes to see. Wake up, curveball. You've been fooled. So we'll bring you up slowly. We'll show you the history and the movies and how fiction turned out to be reality later on. But this is going to be a long process. I will show you a flick portion of a man that's using AutoCAD 2016. You can see the 3-dimension graphics is far better than the 2000 version. I'll be showing you where the moon does not eclipse the sun because they got their math incorrect. Okay, curveball, enjoy. While compiling this part 14, I have noticed the amount of information I wanted to share with you in order to break that paradigm of programming that you've been indoctrinated by scientism to believe. You're on a ball. It's over 3 hours long. So in order to include the AutoCAD portion, the 3-dimensional, what would you say, representation of the solar system, for me to show you that, it's going to put me into part 15. So I just wanted to let you know that part will not be in this portion here, but you need to watch it all so you understand what's going on. Watch this part and then watch part 15. Very critical.
Let's take a closer look at this one, because flat Earth theorists believe that the Earth is shaped like a disc with the North Pole in the centre and the South Pole around the edge, with NASA workers guarding the sides to prevent people from falling off. Now, some also claim that NASA fakes pictures of the globe in an effort to keep the truth from the public. The controversial American rapper B.O.B., he announced he was a flat earther on Twitter. He's now trying to raise $1 million to launch satellites to prove his theory. And the former England cricketer Freddie Flintoff thinks there could be a conspiracy.
I am not coming out now saying I think the world is flat, but it could be. There's evidence to suggest that the world isn't round. The pictures which you see, the horizon always appears flat, apart from NASA pictures, which some say could be doctored.
He's not joking.
No, he was joking.
He's not joking.
No, he was sort of floating one of the conspiracy theories.
You float a conspiracy theory, it suggests that you
don't
might
worry.
believe in
I
it.
agree, and I'm concerned about Freddie, but I'm assured it was tongue-in-cheek devil's advocate stuff, but other people do believe this thing. Now, I'm concerned about Freddie, but... We're joined by astronaut commander Terry Virts, who spent 200 days on the International Space Station. Terry, let me just ask you, is the Earth round or flat?
Well, that's an easier subject than Brexit or or marriage. It's round.
How do we know?
Except you work for NASA. And the point is that only NASA are saying that they have the proof.
That's true.
How do we know for sure? How do we know for sure?
Well, so they put me on a space shuttle, and they hit the red button, and I launched into space, going eastbound at 17,000 miles an hour. And I launched into space, going eastbound at 17,000 miles an hour. Eastbound at 17,000 miles an hour. 17,000 miles an hour. 17,000 miles an hour. And thankfully, I came back around to the other side. If the Earth were flat, I just would have kept on going. And thankfully, I came back around to the other side. If the Earth were flat, I just would have kept on going. And I wouldn't be here today with you.
Right, despite all your extensive experience and the truth as seen by your own eyes.
Right.
All your extensive experience and the truth as seen by your own eyes.
Right.
All your extensive experience and the truth as
I'm talking to Terry.
Okay.
I'm just saying what Mark's saying.
Right.
He's talking complete nonsense. You're part of the NASA conspiracy. You've all been lying to us for decades. The Earth is flat. You've heard
well,
that.
I have this new book out, View from Above.
Yeah.
And I would say this is a great place. There's one picture for folks in Britain. This is probably one of my favorite pictures.
Show it to that camera
but
there.
Here we go. Okay.
Terry?
So this is...
that one there, yeah.
There we go. This is a great picture of the UK and the Northern Lights in the background, which are amazing. And it's kind of a round Earth there. So
Mark,
So
I got to see it.
Well, but I wonder whether that's just a picture which...
Has been doctored.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, I was...
And is that just...
So, Mark,
I got to see it.
Well, but I wonder whether that's just a picture which...
Has been doctored.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, I was...
And is that just the shield that stops us falling off the edge?
Well, I'm actually going to Antarctica this weekend, so
Yeah.
I'll look around for the guards down there that are keeping us,
And Terry,
safe on the Earth.
When you've orbited the Earth, very few people have orbited the Earth, right? When you've done this,
yes.
I mean, it's round, right?
It's round.
I mean,
yeah.
She brought this in to show the other students the section on the lunar landings.
Yeah, it's one of my old textbooks. She always loved the pictures.
It's an old federal textbook. We've replaced them with the corrected versions.
Corrected.
Explaining how the Apollo missions were fake to bankrupt the Soviet Union.
You don't believe we went to the moon?
I believe it was a brilliant piece of propaganda that the Soviets bankrupted themselves, pouring resources into rockets and other useless machines.
Useless machines.
And if we don't want a repeat of the excess and wastefulness of the 20th century, then we need to teach our kids about this planet, not tales of leaving it.
I'd go to the moon in a nanosecond. The problem is we don't have the technology to do that anymore. We used to, but we destroyed that technology, and it's a painful process to build it back again.
Mark, you know, when you take a tennis ball or a football and you run around it, it's round.
Well, the Greeks figured
It's
that
the
out
same as the planet.
several thousand years ago.
Right. So
you see, in the beginning, everybody thought that the Earth was flat. But who were the first people to actually suggest that the Earth was round? Ancient Greek philosophers. And these philosophers have discovered a ton of things that we live by, but why don't we ever question them? They're ancient.
Let me put this question to you.
Yeah.
Let's assume for a moment you're right. Why would anybody bother to lie about whether the Earth is round or flat? Who benefits from the biggest lie in history? Why would it matter?
All right, as you guys can see here, I've been working pretty hard at this new conspiracy, proving that the Earth is actually flat.
Cool. Where did that coat come from?
What?
It doesn't matter. Are you serious? Are you doing all this because of the Kyrie Irving thing?
Wait, who?
You know, Kyrie Irving, the famous basketball player that came out and said that he also believes the Earth is flat. It's ridiculous.
See, I thought it was ridiculous too, until I did a little bit of research and found that there's actually a lot of people that believe this.
Yeah, and they're ridiculous
and
too.
I'm one of them now.
You've got to be kidding.
This is a real thing, okay? People actually believe that the Earth is flat. They're called flat earthers. And what they believe is that the government has actually tricked people into thinking that the Earth is round from the time you're a little kid.
Okay, how do you explain actual satellite
Terry
photos
Bird,
of Earth?
the current
Photoshop,
ISS
editing?
commander,
Okay,
and
well, what about
Samantha
people who
Cristoforetti,
actually traveled
the
the
first
entire globe?
Italian
Going in
female
circles, not around
astronaut
the
in
whole
space.
thing.
I mean, I'm
What
not gonna lie,
comes
this one
after
is
the
kind of hard to
International
believe.
Space
Exactly.
Station?
Why would
Once
the
its
government
mission
wanna
is
lie
over,
about the shape
how
of
do
the
we
Earth?
ensure
That's
the
exactly
presence
it.
of
They're hiding
humans
the
in
truth.
space?
A truth so mind-blowing that if people found
Well,
out,
that's a
the
great
whole world
question.
would come to an end.
The
this close
plan that NASA has is to build a rocket called SLS, which is a heavy lift rocket.
A lie
It's something
told
that is
often
much bigger than what we
becomes the
have
truth.
today, and it will be able to launch the Orion
This quote
capsule with
is
humans on
discovered
board,
within the belief
as well
of
as
most.
landers or other components to destinations beyond Earth orbit. Right now, we only can fly in Earth orbit. That's the farthest that we can go. And this new system that we're building is going to allow us to go beyond and hopefully take humans into the solar system to explore. So the moon, Mars, asteroids, there's a lot of destinations that we could go to, and we're building these building block components in order to allow us to do that eventually. Now, we only can fly in Earth orbit. That's the farthest that we can go. And this new system that we're building is going to allow us to go beyond and hopefully take humans into the solar system to explore. So the moon, Mars, asteroids, there's a lot of destinations that we could go to.
I appreciate that people think the government is so capable and we can keep secrets and stuff like that. But, you know, the simplest secrets, you can't even get one person to stay quiet about something. So
Especially these days, right?
These days, it's insane. So, you know, people say we didn't land on the moon. Well, did we get 100,000 people to join the conspiracy? I mean, you know, you can't even keep one person quiet nowadays.
Okay, Terry, let's just about your book, which is a brilliant book. It's got amazing pictures. And you've had an extraordinary career, not just as an astronaut, but you clocked up 3,000 flight hours in 40 aircraft for the US military. You befriended Buzz Aldrin, one of the first men ever to go to the moon. I've met him once. Extraordinary character, amazing energy, apart from anything else.
Yeah.
But what's it been like to hang out with Buzz?
Yeah, Buzz and I met each other almost 20 years ago. We actually flew F-16s together in Germany. Buzz and I met each other almost 20 years ago. We actually flew F-16s together in Germany. And it's been, I grew up, the reason I became an astronaut was reading about his mission to the moon. And to get to meet him later in life, we share the same manager, the lady that schedules us both. And it's just amazing to get to be friends and actually work with the childhood hero that I had.
At some point in the future, we're going to look back and say, how did we do it without space?
Before we let you go, what is the best and worst thing about being in space?
The best thing, there's two best things. Okay. Floating is amazing. It's like not anything you can do on Earth for more than a couple seconds. And then the view is unbelievable. The view from above.
What was the best view you've ever seen?
So I have this picture of Britain. I just seeing the aurora at night, seeing sunrises and sunsets. Never got old.
It must be incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, the pictures are amazing. There's a movie I filmed, an IMAX movie called Beautiful Planet. It's playing here in London right now. But despite how awesome those images are, seeing them by yourself is just not. You can't compare.
Is the worst thing the conspiracy theorists?
No, they're fine.
What's the worst thing about being in space?
The worst thing about being in space, losing stuff. I mean, like if you don't have
stuff.
If you don't have a Ziploc bag or Velcro or a tether, that whatever it is will float away within your socks.
Your socks.
Your socks would
float.
So it would help Susanna because they would just disappear.
They'd just be floating in space.
They end up in the air conditioner vent is where you find them. Yes.
Terry, it's a brilliant book. It's a great honour to have a real astronaut with us. We greatly appreciate you coming in. Each to their own. If you want to keep believing the Earth's flat, nobody went to the moon, good luck to you, my friend.
We copy that. We cannot believe you are on the fucking moon. Repeat, cannot fucking believe it. Over. The moon, for Christ's sake. The moon. Over.
away with this. Well, I don't know, it's a chance. Maybe it's not a very good one, but it's a chance.
Who knows about it?
Almost nobody. Houston is monitoring the actual flight. All the telemetry is coming from the command module, so are your voices and medical data. We recorded everything from the practice simulations. They don't know. All we need from you is the actual television transmissions during the flight and the Mars landing. That's all. Just the television transmissions.
That's all. Just the television transmissions.
We just have to be repetitive about this. It's not enough to simply have a catchy ad on a Monday and then only do it every Monday. We need to do this every day of the week and just really brainwash people.
I walked on the moon. I walked on the moon.
We just have to be repetitive about this. We need to do this every day of the week and just really brainwash people.
I walked on the moon. I walked on the moon.
Apollo 11 had been rolled out to its launch pad even before Apollo 10 had entered orbit about the moon. Now it stood, pointed toward a distant lunar sea.
Public school is prison. Yes, of course, the buses may be different colors, and the fences that surround the facilities may be slightly different. However, a prison is a prison is a prison. And what we've been putting our kids through is literal hell. As someone who has gone through public schooling, and someone who would never ever put their own kids through it, I'd like to talk to the public about what we're doing. You're putting your children into a 40-hour-a-week work. I mean, you're putting them into basically a job, 40 hours a week. You're forcing them to sit in an incredibly uncomfortable chair, being told that they live in a free country, while simultaneously told that if they want to piss or shit, they're going to have to get the permission, the written permission of somebody in order to do so. You're making them sit in an uncomfortable chair, forcing them to endure day after day, brainwashing that they live on a spinning ball, when everything in their own reality and everything within their own senses is telling them something different. You are forcing them to eat genetically modified food, to be bullied, or to be a bully. You are forcing them to do schoolwork at home when they should be playing outside. You are forcing them to worry about what they are going to wear the next day when they should be playing outside. You are making them worry about what their peers think about their appearance, about what their peers think about their acne, about what their peers think about their grades, about what their teachers think about them when they should be playing outside. So I would like everybody to think about what they're putting their children through. Is it what you would want, or is it just convenient for you?
I'm worried really about how much fuzzy thinking is going on in the world. You know, fuzzy thinking, people just not thinking straight. Consider this following example. Imagine you have a spelling bee. This is contrived, but it makes the point. There's a spelling bee, and you have to spell the word cat. Okay. So one student spells it C-A-T. Person got it right. The next person spells it K-A-T. That's wrong. You got that wrong, okay? Third person spells it X-Q-W. Do you realize that is marked equally as wrong with the K-A-T? When you could argue that K-A-T is a better spelling for cat than C-A-T. Dictionaries know this because that's how they spell it phonetically. And so we've built a system for ourselves where there's an answer and everything else is not the answer, even when some answers are better than others. So our brains are absent the wiring capable of coming up with an original thought. If you're an employer and two candidates come up looking for a job, and this is, again, a contrived example, and you're interviewing the two candidates, and you say, as for part of this interview, I just want to ask you, what's the height of the spire on this building that we're in? And the candidate says, oh, I was an architect. I've majored in architecture for a while, and I memorized the heights of all the buildings on campus. I know. The height of that spire is 150 feet. In fact, 155 feet tall. Okay, turns out that's the right answer. That's the right answer. And the person came up with it in seconds. That person goes away, the next candidate walks in. Do you know the height of the spire on this building? The candidate says, no, but I'll be right back. Person runs outside, measures the length of the shadow of that spire on the ground, measures the length of her own shadow, ratios the height to the shadows, comes up with a number. Runs back inside, it's about 150 feet. Who are you going to hire? I'm hiring the person who figured it out, even though it took that person longer, even though the person's answer is not as precise. I'm hiring that person because that person knows how to use the mind in a way not previously engaged. You realize when you know how to think, it empowers you far beyond those who know only what to think.
The Earth isn't flat. And by the way, this is called gravity.
See, I'm actually touching the water with the tripod. And I'm going to be looking out that way. Some other people are out here as well. And let's see if we can see her. Okay, so she's going to break out the spotlight. I hope it is dark enough for us to see her. Wait, I caught you. Got me? I think so. Turn it off. Okay. Or like, well, turn it on again? Maybe it isn't. Wait. Yeah, I saw it's flashing on me again. Okay, now you're running it back and forth. Can you now just turn it off and see? Let me see if there's a pause. All right, it's off. Well, it's not strange. It's not like flashing as much as it was, but I'm still getting something. Now turn it on again and do the same thing. Whoa, strange. I think that has to be you. Okay, go down towards the water. Do me a favor, turn it off for a second. Perfect, that is you. Okay, turn it on. Okay. It is definitely bright, so I got it. You're at the beach, shoulder height, and I definitely see you. Can you lower it closer to the water? Oh wow, it's actually really bright.
Okay, closer to the water. There's kind of some weeds over here, so I might move further down the beach.
Okay.
I can keep the angle, I guess.
Okay, I lost you now. I see you.
Okay. Now I'm gonna try lowering it right in front of me.
Okay. I'm watching it. Still watching it.
Okay, I'm crouching.
You're crouching.
So it's maybe 2 feet above the water.
Maybe 2 feet above the water. I still see it.
Okay. Now it's maybe 1 foot above the water.
1 foot above the water.
I'll flash it.
Yeah, turn it off a couple of times. Oh yeah. That's you.
On.
I don't see it.
Oh, okay, not on.
Okay, now it's on. Alright, it's very bright. I mean, it's very bright.
Okay, it's like right next to the water now.
Okay, it's right next to the water. How high above the water would you say it is?
Well, the light is like, well, the light, the flashlight is almost touching. Like, if I touch it, it'll be a wet.
So maybe inches above the water.
Maybe, yeah, maybe since the bulb.
Lost you. See ya. Clears.
I'm shining it on the water and you're seeing me. But if I shine it up in the air, you won't see me. So I guess that's the angle.
Okay, can you lift it up and go, just stand up and go back down and stuff? Like stand up. Yeah, I still see you, and then go back down. Oh yeah, you're very bright there. I even got a good good shot that it shows it's not even just a
Okay, so now it's touching the water, or like I'm touching the sand, the water's coming up to you.
Okay.
That's here.
All right, and now stand up or
Standing up.
becomes much brighter, but it's still, you can see it the whole time. Wow. That's
Next to the water.
okay, I'm gonna do zoom out and zoom in. It's actually bright enough you can almost see it with the naked eye.
Are you sure? I'm sure you got me, right?
Yeah, I mean, you turn it off several times. Oh, there you are. See, I can see you. Oh, I'm zoomed out. Turn it on and off, and I can definitely see you from, without even zooming in. I zoom in, of course I can see.
Okay.
I think I'm filming you.
I'm about maybe 40 feet.
Okay, I have you. Turn it off once, just make certain again that I'm filming. Okay.
Okay, off.
Okay, turn it on.
On.
Okay, now put the red cap on.
Red on. Sorry.
Yeah, I still see you.
Okay, so now here I am with red light, and it's gonna lower. I'm crouching. It's about 1.5 feet off the ground, and you still see me?
Yes.
And now it's down at the water.
Wow. Okay, I see you.
And so we've built a system for ourselves where there's an answer and everything else is not the answer, even when some answers are better than others. So our brains are absent the wiring capable of coming up with an original thought. I'm hiring the person who figured it out, even though it took that person longer, even though the person's answer is not as precise. I'm hiring that person because that person knows how to use the mind in a way not previously engaged. You realize when you know how to think, it empowers you far beyond those who know only what to think.
Well, basically it's just impossible. It cannot work in the vacuum of space. It's just impossible. Physically, it's impossible. Yeah.
So, what about all the scientists? Are they all lying, or?
The thing is that we have understood the word scientist wrong. Look, I'm a scientist. I'm a mechanical engineer, and I have a master's degree in technical physics. And I work as a research and development scientist. But when you say a scientist, you think that these guys are out there and they're just exploring the universe and trying to find the secrets of the universe. No, it's not like that. They pay us to do certain things, certain tasks. And if they don't pay me, I'm not gonna go search those stuff. Even if there are some people like me who do think about it, the thing is that since childhood they tell us that the rockets do work and the NASA is sending stuff up into the space. And so you're just programmed since childhood. You're not gonna be questioning that program. And even if you do question that program, people will laugh at you. People will judge you. They think you're stupid. So you end up losing your jobs and friends and stuff. So the scientists, they don't do that to themselves. It's a stupid thing to do. Even if it's the truth, but you just don't do it. The reason that you do think that rockets work in the vacuum of space is because of the third law of motion. The third law of motion states, it says that for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. So it's really easy to test that. Let's put this into action. An action is, for example, I'm going to start punching now. So I'm punching and I don't feel any reactions. Do you see reaction? I don't feel any reaction. But then I start punching the wall. I feel the reaction. I mean, you can try it. You feel the reaction. If it starts hurting, and if I punch harder, it's gonna bleed, and if I punch even harder, it's gonna break my bones. So it seems like the third law of motion, when in order for you to get the reaction, the equal and opposite reaction, you have to apply your action on something. If it's nothing, then you don't get the reaction. For example, if I'm now pushing myself, okay, I'm pushing my hand, and no reaction, I don't feel any pushback. But then I push the wall, and I feel the pushback. So you cannot just push nothingness and expect something to happen. There has to be something.
But what about if I, for example, in a skateboard and I have a bowling ball, let's say, and I throw it, I go backwards. So
look, when you are standing on a skateboard and then you are pushing a 15-pound bowling ball, that 15-pound bowling ball has a static inertia. It means it wants to stay static. It doesn't want to move. So when you're pushing that, you're pushing yourself back. If you think that the third law of motion works in these kind of cases, then you can just throw a pen. Just see if you go backwards when you're throwing a pen. Throw a balloon, throw a light object. And yeah, cool. So you have a balloon, and you can push the balloon and see if you go back. Or a ping pong ball. It doesn't happen. The same thing when you're pushing a car. You know, have you ever tried it when a car is broken and you're pushing it? At the beginning it doesn't move. It's heavy. And then after some time it just moves slower. It got out of that static inertia. It's now moving, so it's easier to push it. It's not that difficult. So in order to get this reaction, you have to push against something. Otherwise, it's not happening. This guy, the reason it goes up is these high velocity and hot gases that exit the exhaust of the rocket engine will push against the ground first, and then it takes off and it goes up. The air down here becomes thinner. But even if it's thinner, the speed of these gases will turn that thin air into a barrier. You know, when you're, for example, driving in the highway and you stick your hand out of the window and you feel this pressure, and the faster you go, the more pressure you feel? That's the same thing. Even if your hand is small, when the speed is high, the pressure increases. It becomes a barrier. The same thing in here. It pushes these hot gases and high velocity gases down. Even if it's thin, it still creates a barrier out of them. So as long as there is air or thin air, the rockets do work, but when it goes out in the vacuum of space where there is nothing, then it's nothing. You can push it and nothing will happen. This is easy to test actually. Look, you can get a simple drone and just put it on the ground, accelerate it, so it lifts up from the ground and hovers at 20 centimeters. Do not touch the accelerator anymore. Just put a cardboard sheet under the drone and just lift it up. When you lift it up, the drone starts coming up also, and it maintains the same 20 centimeter distance between the bottom of the drone and the sheet. And the moment you take the sheet out, you take it away, the drone just drops down, hits the ground, and the hitting the ground happens due to inertia. Hits the ground, comes up, and maintains the 20 centimeter distance. So based on these observations, based on what I just showed you, pushing, punching, and the drone, which I can show you actually. We can go outside and I can demonstrate this. It's impossible for the rockets to work in the vacuum of space. It just doesn't happen. The paired law of motion happens when you apply your action on something, and that something can react to you. When there is nothing, there is no reaction. Simple as that. Yeah. And the thing is, many people say that the rockets don't work in the space because there is no air. No, you're just misunderstanding it. They're carrying their own liquid fuel and they're carrying their own liquid oxygen, so they don't need air. That's not the problem. The problem is this pushing act that you have to push on something.
So you will say that they don't move. They cannot move up in the outer space.
When you're in a vacuum, no. This doesn't produce any thrust.
Even if it's like it's producing its own fuel, it wouldn't move.
It wouldn't move at all. Because as I said, you have to push against something in order to feel that reaction. And back here is a vacuum now. I mean, everywhere is a vacuum in the space. So there's nothing to push against, and done. It's just not happening. So yeah, we can actually go outside and try the drone thingy. So I'm not a good pilot, so I have to try to balance it first, but let's try our best. Okay, there we go. So as you can see, I'm not pushing the gas anymore, and we go up. You see, I'm not touching the gas, and then it comes down. You go up, as much as you want, and there you go. And the 20 centimeter is maintained, and then we go up again. You see, it means something to push again, otherwise it drops. Yep, simple as that. Based on this, you can see rockets just cannot work in the vacuum of space. It's done. There is nothing you can say about this. It's over.
Produced by the modial interaction of magneto-reluctance and capacitive directance. The original machine had a base plate of prefamulated amulite surmounted by a malleable logarithmic casing in such a way that the two spurving bearings were in a direct line with a panametric fan. The latter consisted simply of 6 hydrocoptic Marsal vanes, so fitted to the ambivation lunar wane.
There's nothing to debunk. It debunks itself. When they can't offer you practicality and a definition of what it is they're actually claiming. It's a science of sophism. It's a science of cartoons. It's a science of how to animate things using crayons and wee drawings, but what they're claiming is no science, because they can't show it practically. It's no science, it's a science of deception. 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 Is it fucking that up? It's a science of deception. It's a science of deception. Right? It's a science of deception. It's a science of deception. Is it fucking that up? It's a science of deception. 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 Is it fucking that up?
It was a abnormal lotus or delta type placed in panendermic semi-boloid slots of the stator. Every 7th conductor being connected by a non-reversible.
It's a science of sophism. It's a science of cartoons. It's a science of how to animate things using crayons and wee drawings, but what they're claiming is no science, because they can't show it practically. Practically. There's no science. It's a science of deception. 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 Is it fucking that up? It's a science of deception. It's a science of deception. Right? It's a science of deception. It's a science of deception. Is it fucking that up?
It may also be employed in conjunction with a drawn reciprocation dingle arm to reduce sinusoidal repleneration.
It's a science of deception. Gravitoids. 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 It's a science of deception.
And just to wind up this little group of complaints, finally, this is a group of social criminals. These people in the space program. Nassholes, I call them. In case you haven't heard, the latest disaster for the rest of the universe is that the United States is going to go to Mars. Okay? Oh, yeah. We're going to go to Mars.
Hello, and welcome to the cupola on the International Space Station.
Cupola?
You've actually built it. Yes.
So you have a whole series of O-rings in here, and a shaft that you rotate. Cupola?
Madam, I'll explain. You see, what keeps water out keeps air in. You see?
You kind of want to be careful because there is no bumper, so you don't want to hit the structure real hard.
Now, wait a minute. There's no pressure outside, which means that the moment the hatch is opened, the entire sphere is a vacuum.
So, I mean, like on the space station, how many of these would you have? 7, because we have 7 windows. What happens if you get a leak on that?
Now, you can open the hatch from the inside.
Then you have a leak.
There's this outer frame that's covered with roller blinds and these old railway buffers.
It's kind of cool to think that, you know, there's this shaft that goes sort of through the structure. The other side is in outer space.
That's very good. That's right. You see, you open and shut the blinds to cut off the force of gravity from, say, from the Earth, or the Moon, or any other bodies in space.
Shutters can only be operated manually.
It's called real good engineering. You just have a leak, and what you would do is lose air. Yeah, you would probably seal the whole cupola off.
Which would be fatal for Kate because we've only got 2 suits. No, that's it. Nobody goes outside.
And then there's probably a plan, I don't know off the top of my head, but there's probably a plan for replacing the mechanism. Might require a spacewalk. So my question is, how can you operate a lid on the outside of the space station by manipulating something mechanical on the inside of the space station without losing air pressure?
It's all rather exciting, isn't it?
seal not the sayings of the prophecy of this book, for the time is at hand. He that is unjust, let him be unjust still, and he which is filthy, let him be filthy still, and he that is righteous, let him be righteous still, and he that is holy, let him be holy still. And behold, I come quickly, and my reward is with me, to give every man according as his work shall be. I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end, the first and the last.
For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places.
This is a quick review of some footage I took on the Bristol Channel on Sunday. My location was the Black Nor Lighthouse, just outside Portishead. I'm looking up the Bristol Channel towards Gloucester. First bridge, second bridge. I think 11 miles. But what's really interesting is this building here. Took me a while to suss out, hunt it down, find out what it is. But take a note of its unusual shape, the tower. It's like a tower block, but with like an extra bit at the front that's taller. An unusual tower block. But it almost steps up at the front. I need to see that, yeah? Take note of that. Now, like I said, it took me a while to figure out what building that is and find it. Turns out it's Sharpness Docks, and that's one of the warehouses at Sharpness Docks. The nice lady there, when I rang up, told me that building's 65 metres tall, so we got that as a reference as well, before we put that through the Earth's curve calculator. But this footage today, and what we've got with I'm going to show you in a minute, not only is going to prove there's no curve, we're going to destroy the globe argument of refraction, where this ridiculous argument where this image is refracted and projected back round the curve to give the impression the Earth is flat, but really it's not, it's a ball. It's just nonsense. But we're going to prove that is what it is, just utter fucking nonsense. So yeah, all it is, I'm going to play the footage very shortly, and it's just me. You can see the building, and I'm going to be zooming out in a minute and basically panning all the way out back to my location, showing the lighthouse and showing the nautical training school next to it as well, to give my location basically. Now I'm just going to show you a couple of images of where we are, and this is the building. Sorry, there's the building, obviously. Notice the distinguished tower. Okay, now this turns out to be what it is, this building here, which is Sharpness Docks. Obviously you can see the Bristol Channel just here on the background, and this is the inlet for the docks, and obviously I don't know, grain store or whatever it was, but you can quite clearly see this is the building. That's a really unusual building, yeah, with that step up, almost like that extra tier. So undoubtedly, unmistakably, that is the building. Okay, let me show you my location. Is here. This is the Black Nor Lighthouse. Let me just zoom out so you can see that properly. This is the Black Nor Lighthouse, and I've got my tripod sat up here, and I'm looking this way up the channel towards the bridges and the Sharpness Docks and that said warehouse. Okay, now I am right on the sea. I'm going to show you top view of this shortly. And like I say, I'm looking up the channel. Now when the tide's in, sometimes the tide comes right up to literally the top of this concrete base which the lighthouse is actually stood on. So you could class that as sea level, although the tide wasn't fully in when I was here. It was coming in, so I just thought I'd state that. Anyway, like I said, I'm looking up this direction, and we're going to show you the map now, the distance involved. Okay, is here. Might have to zoom in for you. "21 miles essentially, the journey." If you can see that. That's the distance. It's from Portishead
The Sharpness docks. Like I said, the Blacknor Lighthouse in Portishead, I should say. Look how far that is on the map. Let me just come out a minute. It's just a mad distance. Blacknor Lighthouse down here. Sorry, shocking camera like that. That's how far it is. I've got to keep zooming right out. Here's the Blacknor Lighthouse here. I'm looking 21 miles. First bridge. Second bridge. Then the tall building at the docks. 20, was it? 21.36 miles. I'm glad it wasn't 33. 21 miles, we'll say. Alright, we're looking at the channel. It's just absurd, really. Anyway, let's check the footage. All it is, I'm going to be panning out. Nothing glamorous. I'm just panning out from that location and showing my location. Panning out all the way out, all 21 miles away. I'm looking, this is the concrete base I'm stood on, which is what the lighthouse is on. I'm looking down onto the beach, which is probably 8 to 10 feet down there. When the tide comes in, it'll literally come near enough up to the top of that wall. There's the tripod, which is probably 4 feet tall, and here's the Blacknor Lighthouse. Okay? And I'm coming down onto the Nautical Training School, which is just set back. Sorry about that, a bit glitchy there. Bits just set back. But ultimately, I'm right on the beach, yeah? I'm right on the sea. So we're seeing that building from 21 miles away. If we run that through the curve chart, let's see what we come up with. I've given myself a viewer height of 10 feet. Target distance 21 miles. Bearing in mind, let me zoom out and just straighten that. Bearing in mind, I'm stood pretty much at sea level. Although I'm not on the beach, I'm at the base of the lighthouse. I'm viewing something which is pretty much sea level. It's almost ideal. It's literally the identical conditions. It's a dock with a building on a concrete foundation base. So they're pretty much the same. But I'm giving myself a viewer height of 10 feet, a little bit extra. We calculate it. And essentially the target should have been hidden. 195 feet should have been hidden. Can you see that there? That building, I was told by the lady at the docks, is 65 meters. That's 195 feet. Essentially, the whole of that building should not have been seen. None of it. And we pretty much can see all of it. There is some miraging, I get that, but we can pretty much see all of it, yeah? Now what makes this really interesting is when we go to this. We've seen a 21 mile distance. Lovely. Now we're going to do the elevation stats on that to cross-reference. Let me just get that here a minute. I've gone from Blacknor Lighthouse, this is so telling, to Sharpness Docks, Dock Road, Sharpness, Berkeley. The journey, I'm not really interested in it because it's a walk. It says 28 miles, but that's because I've done it on walk to get the elevation stats. But what really is the giveaway, I've gone up 860 feet. I've come down 860 feet. Notice, flat, plain. Here's the elevation of the journey. I'm looking up the channel. I'm at the lighthouse, viewing the dock building. It's showing us sea is fucking level, excuse the swearing. And it's showing the elevation of my journey. But ultimately, the elevation stats are confirming what I'm viewing. That they're basically there is no curve, and that I should be seeing that building based on these elevation stats, because these elevation stats are confirming my observations. There is no curve. Yeah? Like I said, I went up 860 feet, I came down 860 feet. It's telling me, from my point of reference to the building, there's no difference in elevation, and I've confirmed that. Get this nonsense off here. And I've confirmed that with my observations, and this is confirming my observations, the elevation stats, yeah? And it's also destroying the refraction argument, yeah? There is no refraction, it doesn't exist, just like the curve, it doesn't exist. You see what's happened here? Google is you know, they're telling the truth, they're not hiding this. It doesn't take much to uncover this bullshit. Observations, legwork, bit of homework, and use Google elevation stats. Now, we've seen, it confirms my observations, yeah? Let's have a little wander around the world now, knowing that these observations are correct, and the elevation stats are correct. I've gone from Vancouver in Canada to, groovy old city of New Orleans. 4,759 kilometers. Look at the distance here, yeah? We know this is correct. Look, it's flat as you like. There's hills. But what's the difference? 3 meters difference from Vancouver to New Orleans. And we know this is correct. I've confirmed it with my observations. So there's 3 meters of difference. And I've not gone fussy, I've just whacked Vancouver and New Orleans, yeah? So that's probably the difference of the street height. Do you see how telling this is? The globe is dead. We'll continue. We've gone from Perth to Sydney, one side of Australia, the other, to 3,722 kilometers. The difference in height, 7 meters from one side of Australia to the other. A course is presented on a flat plane. Of course, we've got the elevation, and of course, they're near enough the same height from one side to the other. It's flat. We'll continue. Calais, France, and we're going all the way down to, I don't even know where this is. Where is this? Valencia. Beg your pardon. So we're going from the most northerly part of France, Calais, to sort of southeast of Spain, in Valencia. The journey, 1,638 kilometers. Notice the elevation here. See those hills? That's probably the Pyrenees. I walked through those years ago, so that's probably that. But look, on a flat plane, what's the difference? Fuck you. 3 meters of difference. You can't. It's flat. We know these elevation stats are correct. We've confirmed it with my observations. It's flat. We've destroyed refraction. It's flat. The Earth is flat. Our observations match this. This is game over. Globe is dead. And of course we know the Bristol Channel's flat. Well, I do. I've been there many times. It's a fantastic place to stick stickers and point the obvious out to people. Folks, if you're not convinced, you should be now. The Earth is flat.
Guys, so I just wanted to show you guys something. See if we can pull it. There goes the moon, okay. Alright. Okay, what's that mean? Okay. There goes our sun. Alright guys. Now I'm going to slow it down for you. There goes the moon. Okay, that is the moon. Alright. So everyone sees this? I'm sorry, it's going to be a choppy video. I don't care. I want to show you something. Come I'm only showing this because I want to show you that if you don't think that these bastards are lying to you about anything, they're lying. They're liars. Okay, so I'm going to show you the same thing I always showed you during the last solar eclipse. Right? I'm going to show you. Because they're liars. And if you can't bust them here, you guys are not paying attention. You guys are not paying attention. And not everyone's this stupid. You can't be stupid like this. Okay, so here's the thing. Right now, it is 12 o'clock midnight in Sydney, Australia. Guys, you know where that's at in their so-called globe model, right? Right? I only caught this because I was just driving, and I just wanted to show you guys something. Hold on one second, I'll be right back. Okay guys, it took me a minute to load this back up, but I wanted to show you this is live from Sydney, Australia. And you know, I'm going to stop this again because I got to jump from spot to spot. I didn't expect to catch it. But anyways, I showed you our moon out in the sky. Why that's a big deal, and I apologize for this video because I had to do it really quick. This is a big deal because I'm going to show you their lunar cycle on their so-called globe ball, okay? So give me a second. I am going to go back outside and show you the moon. I showed you in the first place, so hopefully the clouds can cover it up. But I want to show you that the moon is over there. That's on the other side of their ball, okay? Don't let them bullshit you. This is bigger than the eclipse right now, and I'll show you why. Okay, guys, so I'm back outside. I'm showing you the moon there, okay? Remember the way it looks, okay? So I'm gonna show you, so the moon, there goes our beautiful sun and the moon, right? Now believe me, they told you how big the moon is. It's small, right? Because that's how they get away with their bullshit, telling you things are so big. And hold on a second. So you have to follow this and see where I'm going with it. Let me take out my... So I'm going to take you back in the house. Okay, so there goes Sydney, Australia. It's 12 a.m. and I'm going to pull up the moon cycles in 1 second to show you what I'm talking about. So, because they always say, some people are saying the moon disappears. Remember, you hear all this bullshit. You don't know what you're talking about. You don't know science. You guys need to stop it. You guys are being part of this. Either you're lying or you're part of that demonic system. Guys, listen, that Vegas thing is real. That sheriff's changing his story right now. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is because flat earth and all the lies, God said in the end days, sorry, that just connection went out. But the end days, that things would be, people would wake up because of technology. Hold on one second. Let me moon cycle and show you what Sydney would look like with the moon cycle today. Okay, guys, so here goes the moon phase 2017 lunar calendar for Sydney, North South Wales. And there it goes, October 11, 2017. Now, 9:50, you know, it's telling you right now, there goes the cycle. So anyone who is a globe head that bullshit you on this whole thing, well, they're lying to you, okay? Or they don't know what they're talking about. Here goes the moon phases. And what you got to do is pay attention to what's going on in the sky. So if the moon's here, I'm talking about in the United States. And don't tell me I don't know what I'm talking about, because this is what the map actually looks like. You see this right here, guys? This is what it all looks like, all right? God said he put it on 4 pillars, and this is their stuff, not mine, okay? See Sydney, Australia right there? That's why you can see the moon. That's why the moon's there, and the moon's here at the same time, which I'll have to show dumbasses again, because they sit there and they doubt you. Like you're stupid. Like you're dumb. Earth is not round. It's ridiculous. People back in the day weren't stupid. They actually followed the Bible. They weren't with this demonic trip. But anyway, there goes the moon. And guys, this will be here for hours. And it's over there on the other side of their so-called globe ball model. You know, don't let them fool you. If you guys can stay with this video, I'd appreciate it. I'm going to be right back. I'm going to do something else instead of run around with you. But I want to show you how bullshit this is. Okay, guys, so here goes a globe. Photo realistic which is bullshit. They don't have pictures of the Earth because they don't know what the hell they're talking about. So here, we're just going to take you through any of the globe heads trying to convince you. And by the way, they said this is tilted, so show axis tilt, and you can do that. Okay, so here goes their tilt, right? I just showed you the moon out here. Okay, so here goes the United States, right? This is where I'm at over here, over in Pennsylvania. So there it goes, okay? You can see the moon right here. The moon's up in the sky. Now let me show you where they're bullshit. This is where they get caught. You know, this is not realistic. Anyone who believes this is full of shit, okay? This is bullcrap, and I'm so sorry because I'm a Christian. I get just so aggravated with this. But here goes Australia on the other side of their model, okay? It's at the bottom. And they have the moon there right now at 12 o'clock. I showed you their cycle, all right? There goes the moon. The moon's there. So they're trying to get you to, they're trying to have, this is on the bottom of this thing, man. And so they want you to believe that on the bottom, right there, the very bottom, on the very bottom down here, you see where my finger, and we're still not around yet. Here goes Africa, right? It's such bullshit. I mean, they're lying. There's so much, they're liars. So you can't have it both ways, right? You can't. Stop here. I could. This is pretty cool, this 3D model, because you could see, catch them bullshitting you. Okay, so what they want you to believe, this is why they put this thing on a tilt, guys, which it's not, because we're not on the side of a planet. Water's not conforming to a ball. But anyways, here goes the United States, and Sydney, Australia's on the other side over here. They want you to believe you could see the moon would be up here. I'm showing you right now. The moon is up here. So there goes the United States. Sydney, Australia is right around here. Okay? So I will rotate it again for all the globe head dummies. Some of you guys are probably good people. You just don't realize how much deception you're being taught, and you're talking about going back to them. You ain't going nowhere, Jack. This is the United States. The Earth, it is flat. I will show you that again and get my point across, but it's just very aggravating. So I'm going to stop this rotation right now. Okay, guys. So because this is bullcrap, right? It's hard to explain it to you, but this is on the very bottom. This is on the back side of the planet, okay? The back side. And I'll show you one more time, and then I'll be done with this video because they're full of shit, all right? Full of shit. You can't have it both ways. You can't have it both ways. Now the clouds are covering it up a little bit, but there goes the moon again. Sorry for all the bouncing, but it's just bullcrap. The moon, I showed you again. Let me back this up because I had it focused. Okay. Now, the reason why you can see the moon and the sun, you know, well, the moon's farther away, but obviously, but anyways, this is what the map looks like. They know it. Everyone knows it. This is more realistic, except for the size of certain things. But anyways, but they want you to believe, without it being this, you can't have the moon here, sun here, and then I'm just using their stuff against them. That's all I'm doing. I'm not doing anything special, guys. I'm not doing anything special. But God bless you guys. I'll talk to you guys soon. But I wanted to show you more deceptions. You can bust them yourself. Get a buddy over there. And I'm telling you right now, you can do a live, because they never show the moon over there. I mean, because they're bullshitting you. And the only time I caught the moon was during the eclipse. It was over in Israel. And the guy said, I don't understand science. I don't understand angles. Be quiet. Shut your face. I don't want to hear it no more, okay? You can't have it both ways. You can't. Don't tell me about science no more. Your science is bullshit. Guys, have a good day. God bless you guys.
See if we can pull out the crespel arrays with the smoke from this incense. Okay, so we're going to do the same experiments as before, but using smoke. We've got a light source further up. And the boys are choking on it. Right, bring it down. Bring it down, Dan.
Down, 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 down. Down, down.
Slowly. There you go, can you see them? There they are. You see the light rays bending?
Yeah.
They bend outwards, don't they, as they come through the clouds. And where's the light source? Okay, now take the light source up, son. Right the way up.
I was watching this lightning storm at night, and I noticed something. Every time we see the lightning, the stars lit up. I can count more stars when the lightning strikes. That's not what science tells us. I will do a zoom in on this part and show you frames forwards and backwards. If I forward and backward the frames manually on my keyboard with arrows, we can count more stars. You can do this on your own computer. Pause it and count the stars. You see how they lit up because of the lightning. How can that be if they are like 500 light years away? Look. And you can do this for yourself. I just pointed out, look here, those stars. They're lit up by the lightning. I found like 3-4 more videos. You know, I want to see if this was correct. Yeah, I know this is correct because when we are taking a plane in the night, we never see stars when we look up. But when we are on a mountain, the stars are huge. The stars are just in the clouds, not light years and light years away.
Any map of the world is partial. It has a certain story to tell because we can never have an objective, consistent, real image of the Earth. We just can't do it. We can't square that circle.
All right, here's what looks like an objective image of the world. This is Google Earth, and it's a circular image, so it gets around the big problem of trying to portray the world on a flat surface. Now, you have a lot of reservations, don't you, about Google Earth? Yet, to many people, it's a wonderful application.
It is great technology, and that's what I first thought when I started doing the work on it. But I do now think that because of the way in which they have bought up so much of the data, which they fed into this geospatial application, is what they call it, they are monopolizing maps online. If you go online and you're using maps, you are probably using a Google map. And there's also some sort of sinister and worrying dimensions to Google because they buy Earth Viewer, which is the application, and that is funded by the CIA.
This is the company that they buy that provides them with the ability to produce this.
That's right, and first came to prominence because it was a great way of visualizing bombing raids in the first Gulf War. And Google saw that and thought, we're interested in that.
I mean, that's interesting that the CIA government had a hand in funding it, but it's sinister. You say, why is it sinister?
Well, because we don't know how those applications were then subsequently used for military purposes. They buy Earth Viewer, which is the application, and that is funded by the CIA.
Okay, here's Google Earth. I live in Austin, Texas, so just for my own sake, for reference, I'm going to do a line to kind of show what we should see. You can already see there's curvature, okay? But I'm going to make a point here. So here we are, Oklahoma City to Austin, Texas. It is about 358 miles away. Eye altitude right here, 20.78 miles. So that is where the camera is, essentially. That's where you're floating if you were in a balloon. 20.78 miles, it's 109,000 feet, 718, okay? 109,000. You see the curvature right there. 109,000 feet. We'll put a line in here. Here is 120,000 feet. It's flat. It's not at all what we see from Google Earth, because Google Earth is following 8 inches per mile squared. In other words, take the mile, if you're 10 miles, times 10 miles, that's squaring it, times 8 inches divided by 12, and that's how many feet of curvature you should see or experience, as we all know. So look at the difference. It's freaking flat. Look at this. It's flat. I drew a line. I dared to draw a line. Just toggle. Look at the difference. Do this for yourself. Come on. 110,000 feet. So actually, the balloon is up another 10,000 feet, so we should see even more curvature. So there you go. Very simple proof. Let's do more of this in the flat earth community.
The human soul yearns for discovery. By unlocking the mysteries of the universe, we unlock truths within ourselves. That's true. Our journey into space will not only make us stronger and more prosperous, but will unite us behind grand ambitions and bring us all closer together. Wouldn't that be nice? Can you believe that space is going to do that? I thought politics would do that. Well, we'll have to rely on space and stuff. Can you believe that space is going to do that? I thought politics would do that. Well, we'll have to rely on space and stuff.
Which came first? The science or the fiction? We're all familiar with the phrase, life imitates art. But it's quite astounding to learn just how spectacularly this seems to have borne itself out when it comes to the way that science fiction has managed to predict so many aspects of space travel, which supposedly eventually came to pass. I was quite amazed when I first heard that science fiction author Arthur C. Clarke actually wrote about the concept of geostationary satellites before they were ever built or tested by actual rocket scientists. But I was even more amazed to later learn that this is only partially true. Clarke was the first to write about the idea of using satellites for the purpose of telecommunications. The Brick Moon, a short story by Edward Everett Hale, was actually the first description of an artificial satellite, and it was published in the Atlantic Monthly starting in 1869. The book Edison's Conquest of Mars by Garrett P. Serviss describes spacesuits and airlocks in 1898. Most of us are quite familiar with the uncanny predictions of science fiction writers such as Jules Verne and H.G. Wells, and how these renowned writers and their fantastic imaginations supposedly inspired the legitimate scientific development of space exploration in the future. However, when we take a closer look at many of the specific plot points of Jules Verne's novel From the Earth to the Moon, the predictions almost begin to smack of plagiarism on the part of NASA. Verne wrote a story about the first manned spaceship in history, launched during the month of December by the United States from a base in Florida. The ship was made up mostly of aluminum, weighed 19,250 pounds, and cost what would now be about $12.1 billion to build. After 3 of the astronauts completed their moonwalk, they returned to Earth. Their capsule splashed down into the Pacific Ocean and was recovered by a U.S. Navy vessel. He published this in 1865, and being more than 100 years before the Apollo 11 mission, Verne's novel From the Earth to the Moon actually serves as a bizarrely accurate novelization of that mission. He was slightly off on the cost and weight of the rocket. The real stats were about 26,000 pounds and 14.4 billion, and the biggest difference between Verne and NASA was that Verne's astronauts were shot out of a huge cannon. But get this, Verne's space cannon was called Columbiad, and the Apollo 11 command module was named Columbia. But moving into the 20th century, science fiction authors such as Arthur C. Clarke, Isaac Asimov, Robert Heinlein, and Carl Sagan began to readily accept their titles as prophets of the future, and embraced the role of basically serving as spokesmen for all the magnificent technological marvels that had already unfolded and would yet to unfold. Gene Roddenberry and his Star Trek franchise is of course also credited greatly with inspiring an entire generation to grow up and turn their dreams of space travel into reality by joining NASA.
So, where to begin? Well, Star Trek was about nothing, really, if it wasn't about space. But in the 1960s, space travel was a lot less glamorous than it seemed on our show. In fact, it was a messy and dangerous business. The Soviet Yuri Gagarin became the first man in space in 1961.
This nation should commit itself to achieving the goal before this decade is out of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the Earth.
Now, the space race was officially on. The newly formed NASA responded by sending the first Americans into space during the Mercury missions. NASA needed all the help it could get. And then, from the heavens, or at least the studios of NBC, came the inspiration they needed. On September 8, 1966, the USS Enterprise cruised effortlessly across the television screens of America for the first time. Audiences were astonished and inspired, and not just by my acting, but by a vision of space travel as it could one day be. Soon Star Trek would become NASA's inspiration, guiding the development of space travel to this very day.
Well, I've been interested in space and science literally for as long as I can remember. I have a vague recollection of walking into the living room when I was maybe 5 or so, and my father was watching TV, and I said, "What are you watching?" And he said, "They're going to send a man into space." And that must have been one of the early Mercury flights, and I was thrilled with that then, and I've stayed fascinated with the exploration of space my whole life.
But it wasn't just TV images of man's first faltering steps into space that captured young Mark's imagination. Changing channels, he saw a life-altering vision of space travel's future, a future he could be part of.
Captain, sensors report we're being scanned.
As soon as I began watching Star Trek, I was captivated by it. By the alien ship?
No, sir, it's from the solar system ahead.
In Star Trek, regular people could go throughout the galaxy, whereas the reality at the time was a few very special men got to make very short trips just 100 or so miles away from Earth. And so Star Trek really offered a vision of what could be, and that was very exciting. And again, it was a vision that people wanted to believe was real.
It would appear someone is curious about us.
Dawn will be the latest probe to use ion propulsion, a revolutionary new system that uses electrically charged atomic particles as fuel, propelling crafts 10 times faster than if they used regular old-fashioned rocket fuel. Sounds pretty cool. Guess where they got the idea from?
I worked on a mission called Deep Space One, which was the first interplanetary mission to use ion propulsion to travel around the solar system. And the first time I ever heard of ion propulsion was in the Star Trek episode Spock's Brain. Aliens come to the Enterprise, and before they do their dastardly deed, Kirk walks over to Spock and says,
What do you read, Mr. Spock? Configuration unidentified, ion propulsion, high velocity, though of a unique technology.
And Scotty says,
I've never seen anything like it. And ion propulsion at that. Oh, they could teach us a thing or two.
And so the opportunity to connect what I saw in Star Trek as a little kid to what I'm doing now as an adult is very, very...
Truly amazing, isn't it? Everything from space capsules to spacesuits, geostationary satellites to multi-stage rockets, zero gravity to space shuttles, lunar landers, and even ion propulsion systems, all predicted with stunning accuracy by the creative minds of science fiction writers.
When I first saw the movie 2001, I was amazed, awed, to say the least. The entire scope of the movie was overpowering, and for most of the people of the world was completely baffling. Most people who saw that movie did not understand from beginning to end what it was that they had experienced, but they knew, everyone who saw it, knew that they had experienced something profound. That something had been communicated to the dark, deep recesses of their mind, which they did not understand, and indeed, which they were incapable of understanding. For you see, the movie was not meant for the profane, as most of us are called, by the adepts or the initiates or the priests of the mystery schools. For that movie was a message to those initiates who were well versed in the symbology and the mystery religion of an ancient religion that is practiced to this day in secret.
Bill Cooper's now famous explanation of the occult symbolism embedded within Kubrick's celebrated cinematic masterpiece, 2001: A Space Odyssey, is an absolutely fascinating revelation. The manner by which he reveals how this pivotal film essentially outlines the entirety of the Luciferian belief system is nothing short of astounding. Now, if you are familiar with this exposition, indeed with this broader concept of how the esoteric symbolism used by the so-called illumined ones can be encoded within a narrative that is shown to the unsuspecting masses, I would like for you to consider something. Consider this same underlying concept, only expanded exponentially, beyond a singular film, beyond all Hollywood films and television put together, beyond the scope of even the 20th and 21st centuries. Consider this idea of Babylonian mysticism being written into the fabric of a technologically themed mythology as something which permeates virtually every facet of modern society. For indeed, mythology has long been a preferred vehicle of transmitting and cloaking such ancient Gnostic teachings, the stories and characters involved serving as archetypes for deeper esoteric themes and shadowy spiritual personalities. The fallen angels who rebelled with Lucifer and fell to earth have had their exploits and praises told and retold through countless ancient legends and mystical traditions, being regarded by the majority as nothing more than fictional myths and fairy tales, but regarded by the initiated as ancient truths and keys to the eventual fulfillment of that ancient Luciferian promise, "Ye shall be as gods." And truly this quest for the evolution into godhood has never died out. It has in fact only increased in fervor and resolve, being led through the centuries by these invisible entities who claim to lead the way to ascension, to enlightenment. We live in a world where the vast majority of people sincerely believe evolution to be a scientifically established fact, completely oblivious to the fact that this idea of the universe springing forth from an infinitely compacted singularity is one that traces back into the bowels of Greek Gnosticism, Eastern mysticism, and Kabbalistic occultism. It is a central component of Luciferian cosmology, repackaged into simplified atheistic form, fit for consumption by the unsuspecting masses. And so by the millions, blinded by the pseudoscientific veneer, Humanity continues to look to the stars for answers, to gaze at the planets in lustful dreams of transcendent experience and boundless exploration. The guise of astronomy, thinly veiling the enduring ancient practices of astrology. For what does astrology teach about these planets, these spheres? These planets, these planes, these wandering stars were regarded since ancient times by virtually every mystical tradition as embodying different realms, spheres of influence, or categories of dominion both within the life of the individual and the group as a whole. The Bible refers to certain angelic beings in terms of powers and principalities, and indeed, this is exactly how I believe this can and should be understood. These various descriptions of planets or worlds being equated with areas of dominion on various spiritual planes, which are at the same time being equated with various pantheons of gods, and simultaneously also being equated with various chakras or power centers within the human body. The Kabbalistic Tree of Life claims to represent this same array of power centers or spheres, and occult teachers such as the renowned Manly P. Hall openly connect the spheres of the Tree of Life to the planets and astrology as well. These are just different ways of trying to embody the same thing. This hierarchy of realms, if you will, all connected and all said to be in need of being held in proper balance. We see this again being represented in a slightly different way in the Kabbalistic depiction of the Ein Sof, the 10 emanations of God, where hereby the term God is used in a rather pantheistic sense. And so each emanation corresponds to a different dimension of reality, all connected, and all again said to be in balance with one another. Now, quickly turn and contemplate this in comparison to the early conceptions of the solar system as imagined by men like Copernicus and Kepler. Prior to Newton's mathematical derivations, or divinations, of elliptical orbits, the planets were regarded as existing in a number of concentric rings. The eventual number of heavenly bodies being named by science, if we include the Sun, ironically mirrors the number of emanations described by the Kabbalah. And so again, I return back to this question which so many people like to ask, in regards to the reason as to why the powers that shouldn't be would go to so much effort and expense to fake not just moon landings, but an entire cosmological framework which starts at the Big Bang and then pushes forward all the way to the apotheosis of man. Do you still not see it? Do we not see the fingerprints of the same Freemasonic occultism plastered all over NASA since the beginning? The same Gnostic mythology being alluded to again and again and again in the naming of not just the spacecraft and space missions, but in the naming of almost every alleged new discovery in the cosmos. Do we not realize that the reason for all of this ritualistic dissemination of symbolism is not merely to gain our subconscious approval or to drain our spiritual energy and so forth? No, I would say it with extreme conviction at this point that the primary drive for embedding these ancient mystical concepts into a false narrative of scientific materialism is what Alice Bailey spoke about in the externalization of the hierarchy. It's the agenda of bringing this ancient Babylonian mystery school religion out of the shadows and into the mainstream. When Bill Cooper made his analysis of Kubrick's film, he spoke about it representing the ancient mystery religion practiced in secret, not meant for the profane. But I believe that now more than ever, we can see that the drive behind this massive scale cinematic event we call science is to in fact beckon us, the ignorant masses, the quote profane, towards despising our own excluded position and kindling a burning desire to obtain the same secret knowledge ourselves. In short, this vast collection of modern mythology is all about bringing Luciferianism to the masses.
The human soul yearns for discovery. By unlocking the mysteries of the universe, we unlock truths within ourselves. That's true. Our journey into space will not only make us stronger and more prosperous, but will unite us behind grand ambitions and bring us all closer together. Wouldn't that be nice? Can you believe that space is going to do that? I thought politics would do that. Well, we'll have to rely on space instead. Can you believe that space is going to do that? I thought politics would do that. Well, we'll have to rely on space instead.
Watch your start up on the PTC at any time. You can start off at divert 49. Over. Well, Joe, we're just finishing up the probe and about to close up the hatch here. We're going to be a couple minutes late, probably just started the PTC. But no sweat, 11. We're standing by. Over. This is Apollo Control. That was Neil Armstrong reporting that they are now reinstalling the probe and drogue, which is just about on the flight plan schedule. And they reported that they would be putting the spacecraft in a slow roll shortly to maintain passive thermal control. In that mode, the spacecraft rotates at a rate of about 3 revolutions per hour to maintain even heating. We have a precise time on that sphere of influence change, the point at which the moon, for calculation purposes here in mission control, comes under the predominant influence, spacecraft comes under the predominant influence of the moon's gravitational field. And we now calculate that event will occur at 61 hours, 39 minutes, 55 seconds around the last time. Apollo 11, Houston, Mike, there's no wait required. We're rate to steady. You can proceed on, over. I'm turning, going to the side. The timer is also good. Drug, probe, and hands all back in. Right, copy out. Hello, Apollo 11. Houston, we have some new additions to your alternate and contingency checklist. If you would break that out, over. Okay, Houston, let's ready to copy. Roger, 11. If you'll turn to page F, flag 2-22, over. Okay, I have F flag 2-22. Roger, Neil. Under column L, that's column Lima, line 06. The new data is 00001. Line 07. The new data is 02134. Over. Okay, I have an F flag 2-22, column Lima, item 6, 00001, item 7, 02134. Roger, that's correct. Thank you much, Al. 11 Houston, for your information, those two entries are an update to your Delta 8 that we have already uplinked into the CMC, over. All right, thank you. What was our margin on, Charlie? About an 18-kilometer line or what? Our update puts you to the Delta H to 35 kilometers, Mike, over. Okay. Hello, Apollo 11, Houston. We got some switch positions for you for the high gain, over. Okay, go ahead. Roger, bud. Select Bravo, Omni, high gain track to manual. Beam wide, over. Okay, Bravo, Omni, track manual, and beam wide. Roger, and your high gain angles are -50 on the pitch, 270 on the yaw, over. Okay, going there now. Hello, Apollo 11, Houston. We have some updates and some things we'd like to talk to you about if you're in the middle of your meal and it's convenient anytime for you. We're ready with some updates, over. What are the updates going to apply to? Roger, we have a couple of changes on the LIM mission rules no-go for your no-go card, Neil. One flight change on the aft dip, fuel, and temp pressure card. And we have a change to the procedure for the secondary radiator leak check, which is to be performed at 71 hours tomorrow. And also some indications that we have a couple of landing site obliques stowed in the wrong place, over. Okay, if any of those in the flight plan, secondary radiator, that's affirmative. The secondary radiator leak check is called out in the flight plan at 7120. That procedure is listed in your launch operations book. We on page 2-9, L2-9. We'd like to change that procedure, over. Okay, stand by. Sorry, on the secondary leak check, just read it verbatim like you want it, and I'll copy it directly into the flight plan and not fool around with the checklist. Roger, that's fine.
Science fiction is what I'm talking about. Science and science fiction are essentially the same.
How do you prove a black hole?
Astronauts are really, really good at making pictures in space that look like you've never left the planet. In fact, it's almost hard-pressed to tell whether you're in space or not in this picture. You know, we've got some fancy backdrops, I guess.
Okay, we're on board flight Aerolíneas Argentinas 1181. We're just coming after about 10 hours of isolation flying over the ocean. We're just over land right now at waypoint Satin, S-A-T-I-N, and this is the first sighting of the land after 10 hours of overnight crossing on the Pacific. We're at 38,500 feet.
Very enthusiastic. Congratulations. Yeah. Our engineer department of Aerolíneas Argentinas many years ago developed these special routes that then another airlines like Chile or Qantas or whatever started to use, like Shepson did all around the world, for example. And we made these transpolar routes.
See.
We created this in the 1980. That is why the name, the number of the flight, 1180, the inbound flight. And we were the first airliner all around the world to make this kind of flight and these so big latitudes. And Buenos Aires, Sydney is the longest flight ever made for any airliner. The inbound flight, due to the winds, depends, arrives up to 16 hours and 45 minutes. Flight time, not block. Just when you take off until
Would you need a refuel in Ushuaia or in Rio Gallegos?
No.
Or you think you can go non-stop in very strong headwind condition?
The most worst condition for us lead us to a flight of 16 hours and 45 minutes, which is a lot, my friend. It's a lot.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable, non-stop flying. And we have almost 13 and a half, 13, here is New Zealand, Australia is here.
Yes.
13 and a half flying over nothing. Nothing. Nothing.
And you don't call on
nothing.
Radio. Do you call to Antarctica and Murdo?
Yes.
You have to communicate.
No, we communicate with Auckland Oceanic by HF and Santiago, Chile Oceanic by HFF. We are out of communication since 1.5 hours because we cannot read.
So how
Santiago.
long was the last communication?
Oh, the last communication with Auckland Control.
And now
in the latitude
we have communication with
in the longitude 131
to the control. This cellular position and the flight level.
Yes.
And the control.
And you don't call on radio. Do you call to Antarctica and Murdo?
We have communication with Antarctica.
Yes.
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 because we are
3-5.
Yes, in block flight. Yeah.
Because we cannot contact via HF, we use the ACAR systems.
ACARS.
To communicate with our base in Argentina, and they will retransmit the communication to the oceanic control of Chile. Okay? Sometimes we used to communicate by HF with an Antarctica base, not McMurdo, but an Argentinian base called Marambio. Marambio, yes. Maybe you Google it and you will find it out. It's an Antarctica base, just to say hello, we are here and we are okay.
So Argentina has a territory in Antarctica.
Yes,
It's a base.
Huge territory in Antarctica. This peninsula more or less, with several bases, Navy bases, Air Force bases, and Army bases.
So would that be your alternative if anything happened? Could you land in this Argentinian station?
No, because the airports are not appropriate to land this place. Anyway, we are
has some ice runway.
We are far away
You're
from
far
everywhere.
away from it, yeah.
We are about 2,500 kilometers or 1,500 miles from the South Pole. We are far away from everywhere.
How far south in latitude you think this route goes? I heard it says as far as 71 degrees south.
Exactly, but it's not in this map. Yes, here you can see in this map up to 72 degrees of latitude. You see? Yes.
So how many sets of standard published routes you can choose during, I guess it's up to the wind condition? And
it's up to the wind condition.
Would you use 72 often or no, not often?
Yes.
You would use that often as well?
It's due to the wind condition, absolutely. But we face another problem that we are not contemplated in the manufacturer of the aircraft. Flying at these latitudes, we have so big frozen point of the fuel.
Yes.
And the aircraft is on its limit. Sometimes we face the problem of to have the, I will put you the page of the fuel management system here. Sometimes we arrive to the point where we reach the freezing point of the fuel in the outer tanks. These one are the outer tanks of the system, and sometimes we suffer the problem of the freezing point of the fuel, which is risky a lot.
Right.
Sorry for my English is not so good, but
no,
maybe
it's perfect.
It's good an idea for you to understand. And sometimes we have the alarms regarding telling us that the fuel is going to be freeze in a moment, and we have to perform different actions.
What action do you need to take?
Okay, well, the first action is to transfer the fuel from the outer tanks to the inner tanks, where we have a heater interchange, and we can heat a little bit the fuel. If this is not enough, we must absolutely go down to a warmer atmosphere.
To what extent you think? To lower than 30,000?
Minimum, we have to go down minimum
10,000 feet
in order to reach a warmer atmosphere.
Does this happening quite regularly?
Well, what happened to me was to reach the freezing point and to have the need to go down 10 levels, 10,000 feet down. But in the worst, you must turn northbound, northbound in order to leave the frozen latitudes.
So this will add more flight time.
It will lead you to more flight times, and you have to make a decision whether to continue the flight to the final destination, that in case is Sydney, or to go to your alternate. That we have only one alternate, Auckland.
Auckland. You don't go to
Or
Christchurch. Yeah,
or
Christchurch.
If it is operative. But Christchurch has another limitation. If Christchurch is under fog with bad visibility condition, they don't have the capability to have category 3 landing. So the only one airport
No category 3.
with cat 3 is Auckland. Yeah.
I see.
South 70, close to Lassie.
Yeah.
54 South 80.
Eighty.
Should be, where is it?
Yep.
Here,
Okay.
in this road. 5770,
Yeah.
5960, made this route. Here, 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 and we are going to Bariloche and Balmaceda, Chile, and Bariloche, Argentina. This route.
So what's the most south waypoints we have?
In this route,
Through we have 49, 54, 60 south.
60 latitude. And
And
we
this
fly
is-
this latitude for 1, 2, 3, 4 waypoints.
4 waypoints.
Recibido entonces, ha autorizado el 390, el block por el nivel 390 y notifiquen la vertical de Balmaceda.
Con 390 notificaremos la vertical de Balmaceda y tiene una 181.
Correcto, nadie que.
We are going to have nice scenarios of the southern Patagonia, between the Chilean and Argentinian Patagonia.
Inside an artificial horizon or attitude indicator, the gyroscope, rigidity in space. Here is the rotor of the artificial horizon. This is a vacuum instrument. You can see the little notches there that catch the air and drive this rotor at high speed, high RPM. And here's a reminder of a simple gyroscope. So if I spin this, we see the rigidity in space. And what we have with this rotor is the same thing. I can support it here, and it spins like that. It spins at high speed, and it fits into the instrument in that chamber like this. I'll put it in a moment, but let's look at the air supply. There's the back of the instrument, and that's the air inlet from the filter. That's the suction line from the engine, the vacuum pump, and that's the gauge attachment for the vacuum gauge. So the air goes in there, and through this bearing and up this side of the gimbal structure, and there we see the copper colored air inlet into the chamber, so a jet of air comes out from there and drives the rotor round and round, a bit like a water wheel. We see little marks there, little pieces drilled away for balancing, I think. So that goes in there, and I will assemble it. So what I've done now is I've fitted the rotor, the brass gyro rotor there. It's fitted into its chamber. This is the way it came apart, with these little nuts here, and now we have this piece, and this is this divides the chamber into four in a clever way, so that the air comes out of one of these four slots. There's a little slot there, and similarly there, and there, and that's how the gyro balances itself in 1G or 1G flight or on the ground when it's first spun up. So this fits on like that, so that it divides the space between the slots. So I'll just put that together. So now I've assembled the rotor into its chamber, into its case there, with the single nut there, and I've reassembled these little copper strips, copper pendulum strips you might call them, and these open and close little air slots for the air exhaust, and this is how the gyro stabilizes itself after startup. The gyro, the rotor, will stay vertical throughout, and then the aircraft will move around the gyro. So as the aircraft moves around the gyro, we see that the display at the front here will move up and down, and it's moved by a little pin attached to the chamber, to the gyro chamber, and that little pin moves in a slot here and moves the display up and down in pitch.
Just like a top, am I right? Just like the top that you guys had when you were a kid. That's all it is. So as you try to move it, it resists. See it moving there? And an outer gimbal. You guys have done that as well. You've looked at gimbals.
The gimbals, no, show them that.
Okay. And then an outer gimbal with 360. So you can barrel roll an aircraft. Can you notice that if the top of this rotor is facing the roof, no matter what I do with this, it stays where it is.
Stays pointing up.
So you're pressing on the back.
Like it stands to the side so you can see?
Exactly.
The other side. Pressing the back, it's going that way. It's 90 degrees.
Can you notice that if the top of this rotor is facing the roof, no matter what I do with this, it stays where it is.
Stays pointing up.
So you're pressing on the back.
Like it stands to the side so you can see?
Exactly.
The other side. Pressing the back, it's going that way. It's 90 degrees.
check and adjust the attitude indicator as required for your type of aircraft. Hold your brakes and advance the throttle to the recommended pre-takeoff power setting. When the airspeed nears takeoff speed, acceleration error in the attitude indicator is approximately 1 bar width. So you adjust the pitch attitude as required for your aircraft to assume the takeoff attitude. When airborne, maintain this pitch attitude and use the attitude indicator to control both pitch and bank. As soon as the altimeter and vertical velocity show a stabilized rate of climb, retract your gear. Generally speaking, an unusual attitude is the result of a careless cross-check. But there can be a number of other reasons, such as turbulence, instrument failure, vertigo, or pilot confusion. There are two main types of unusual attitudes: nose low, indicated by increasing airspeed, and nose high, which is indicated by a decreasing airspeed. Your recovery procedure will depend upon whether the attitude indicator is operating properly or not. First, let's consider the technique of recovery used when the attitude indicator is functioning properly. An immediate reference to the bank index pointer tells you what your bank attitude is. If it's on the right side, you are in a left bank. If it's on the left side, you are in a right bank. If the bank index pointer is anywhere in the lower half of the instrument case, you are in inverted flight. If you remember that the bank index pointer always points to the sky, and think of the fuselage dot as a canopy, you can see that the quickest way to get right side up is to raise your low wing, rolling toward the bank index pointer. Your next step is to determine whether you are in a dive or a climb. Note the relationship between the miniature aircraft, the horizon bar, and the bank index pointer. In any diving situation, the horizon bar and bank index pointer are close together and never separated by the miniature aircraft. To confirm the dive, cross-check your other instruments. Airspeed shows an increase. The altimeter, a loss of altitude. And the vertical velocity, a descent. To recover, start a roll to right side up. Reduce power and extend your drag devices if available. Then establish level flight on the attitude indicator. Begin a normal cross-check and raise your drag devices. Increase power when the airspeed is normal. In any climbing situation, the horizon bar and bank index pointer are far apart, and the miniature aircraft is always between them. You confirm the climb by cross-checking your other instruments. Airspeed shows a decrease. Altimeter, an increase. Vertical velocity shows a climb. To recover, add power and roll to bring the bank index pointer toward the nearest 90-degree bank index mark. Allow the nose to drop smoothly. Then reestablish a wings level, slightly nose-low attitude. Next, assume level flight. Immediately after recovering, resume a normal cross-check. Reduce power when the airspeed is back to normal.
Now, in this short video, I'll offer a few tips to help jumpstart your instrument training using the traditional 6-pack of steam gauges in a single-engine airplane. You'll learn to scan the pertinent instruments looking for information from 2 or more instruments to confirm what the airplane is doing. This is called cross-checking. Then we'll interpret this information and finally control the airplane based on the data we've collected from those instruments. How you scan is a personal preference. You can utilize the radial cross-check where you look at the attitude indicator, then glance from the AI to other instruments, or the inverted V, which also begins with the AI. Or you can use the rectangular cross-check, which is what I tend to use. The rate of your scan will change based on the demands of the flight situation. You'll learn what to look for, when to look for it, and what response to make. Now, you want to be aware of fixation. This is a condition where you're so focused on one instrument, such as holding altitude, that you neglect what's happening with other instruments. Omission of an instrument from your cross-check is another likely error. It's many times the result of fixating on another instrument. And emphasis on a single instrument instead of the combination of instruments necessary for attitude information is common during the initial stages of training. You want to rely on the instruments that give you the best available information for what you're trying to achieve in the airplane at that moment. Now, we don't have time to cover every possible flight scenario in this video, but for example, if you're trying to maintain straight and level flight, the primary instrument for pitch is going to be your VSI followed by your altimeter. Primary for bank is the heading indicator, and primary for power is your airspeed indicator. When we change the flight condition of the airplane, we'll most often use the attitude indicator as a primary instrument to begin and end that change, such as in a climb, a descent, or a turn, and then begin to cross-check with other instruments to confirm that we've achieved the desired bank or climb rate. Well, let's get into a Cessna Skylane now and run through some of these instrument basics. So I'm going to roll through a lot of these tips about flying under the hood, basic attitude instrument flying really quickly. This is something we cover a couple 1-hour lessons actually, but the first thing is to disregard whatever you're feeling when you're under the hood from your inner ear and what your body's telling you, because you're getting wrong indications. And as soon as you realize that and trust your instruments, the quicker you'll get the grasp of this instrument flying. The other thing you want to do is fly with a light grip on the control wheel. You don't really want to let go of it, but if you can fly with 2 fingers rather than the G.I. Joe Kung Fu grip on the yoke, you'll have a better feel for what's going on with the airplane. You can fix slight deviations and corrections a lot sooner. Now remember, our gyro instruments are these 2, the attitude indicator and the heading indicator, and they're powered by the vacuum system in the airplane. This particular airplane has dual vacuum pumps and annunciators to tell us if one or the other goes out. We have a turn coordinator, and it even says on it that it's DC, it's electric, so that's indicating our bank from a different power source. Of course, we have the airspeed indicator, which is the only instrument uses the pitot system, also uses the static system, as does the altimeter and the vertical speed indicator. Now, there's 2 different scenarios in which you're going to be under the hood. One is what we're doing right now, which is basically static state. I'm trying to maintain a heading, trying to maintain an altitude 4,500 feet in this instance. The first instrument that's going to show me if I'm deviating from this when I'm trying to stay straight and level is going to be the VSI. Now, it's real hard to see on the attitude indicator any minor changes in pitch or bank. We will begin and end any changes starting with the attitude indicator, but right now there's no changes going on. We're trying to be steady state, straight and level. So the VSI is going to show you the first indication of a change in altitude. Now, it's true that it has a lag to it, but that's only in terms of the rate. If we want to know whether we're climbing 500 or 700 feet per minute, we do have to wait a few seconds for it to settle in. But any indication that you get above or below 0, if it continues, it's going to eventually change your altitude. So this is the primary instrument for pitch when I'm trying to maintain straight and level flight. Now, if the airplane started to bank one way or the other, it's kind of hard to see little tiny changes on the attitude indicator. I just kicked it into a little bit of a right bank, 2 or 3 degrees. You can barely see it on the attitude indicator. But notice what's going to happen is my heading's going to start to change. So in a steady state, when I'm trying to maintain a straight and level condition, the first thing that's going to show if I have any bank is going to be the heading indicator. So if you've got a heading bug in your airplane, use it, bug it. You'll see first whether you got any bank in there from your heading indicator. The primary and secondary gets a lot of students confused, but the main thing you want to know about that is what is the best instrument that's going to give me real-time information for what's happening in the airplane. Now, if I wanted to begin a turn right now, I can start with the attitude indicator, and while I'm doing this, my scan is continuing. I'm not just fixating on one instrument and omitting others. So I start a bank here. I can start the bank with the attitude indicator and then verify it with the turn coordinator that I have pretty much a standard rate turn going. We're over a little bit of terrain now. We got a little updraft, which is what's kicking up the altitude. Even though we're in a turn, we're still indicating a little bit of a climb. And if I wanted to turn to heading 300, this is going to be my indication of when to roll out of the turn. But for right now, I'm maintaining about 15 degrees, standard rate turn, keeping the ball centered. Going to have to push on the yoke to get it back to 4,500 because of that little thermal we got into. And as I come around to my heading, I can roll out, start here by rolling out on the attitude indicator, verify that we're wings level on the turn coordinator, and then substantiate that fact as well with our heading, which is 300. Pretty much have it back to 4,500. I'm having to push a little on the yoke, probably because of that hilly terrain and the heat of the day building up under us, so I'm going to retrim a little bit. One thing you learn about flying under the hood is it's all about trim. Small, minor corrections as soon as possible are much better than much larger corrections much later on. Now, if I wanted to start a climb, let's do it in this same heading. I'm going to start with the attitude indicator, bring it up about a dot above the horizon. I can verify that that is indeed a climb because the VSI is starting to change. And I do have to wait a few seconds for the rate to settle in. So I'm going to work it to around 500 feet per minute. I'm going to need about this much back pressure on it, and I'll trim for that. I think I'll go up to 5,500 feet, which is about 1,000 feet, and at 500 feet per minute should take me a couple of minutes to get there. So now I've changed from straight and level flight. I'm basically going straight, but I'm no longer level. So my primary instrument for pitch right now, the attitude indicator combined with the vertical speed indicator, and I'm just making sure that these things correlate. And then secondarily, of course, the altitude should continue to change as it is. Having to put a little right rudder in there just to keep it coordinated to those left turning tendencies. Remember the formula. Attitude plus power equals performance. So I've got this attitude in there. I've got the same amount of power, so my performance went down substantially. We basically went from about 134 knots straight and level to about 102 knots over the ground and about 92 knots indicated airspeed. So we still have a little bit of a tailwind working for us. And we keep this climb coming. 500 feet per minute. Go another 300 feet, and of course the rule of thumb, it's the same as VFR flying, is you want to begin to level off at about 10% of your rate of climb. So when the airplane gets to about 5,450, I'm going to start to lower the nose. And again, when I say slow, I mean slow, gradually. I'm going to initiate that. We're in a steady state right now. It's a straight ahead climb. But we're going to change that, so we're going to start with our primary instrument for change, which is the attitude indicator. There's my 5,450. I simply put the dot back on the horizon, and the climb should stop. I can verify that with a VSI. And as it slowly comes back to settle on 0, I'm within about 20 feet of my established altitude. I can make a small, gentle correction for that. And because I had the airplane trimmed for the climb, I'm going to have to retrim it again. Welcome to flying under the hood in IFR flying. It's a constant change in pitch, power, performance, and trimming every step along the way. So just a little bit of back pressure. There we go.
And we're back to straight and level flight. Constant state. As long as this stays close to zero, I'm going to stay close to that altitude. And as long as my heading stays to what I had it bugged on, I'm going to stay at that same heading. I'm straight and level.
Thank you.